Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Token Podcast Interviews. I'm your host and sometimes referee, the friendly neighborhood Zach Sad Pearson, and today I am joined by he whose last name is cooler than all others, a one Matt Drago.
Thank you so much, Zach. This is going to be a great conversation. Really looking forward to being on your show today.
All right, Mr. Drago, why don't you tell these fine people on the internet what you do?
Yeah, I'm an actor. Pretty much caught the bug since I can remember. Just really love to tell great stories. I always felt growing up that it was a way that maybe I could impact the world. I just really loved the creative aspect of kind of going into my own head, my own psyche, and really learning about yourself in the process. So I got on the stage pretty early on, my local theaters in rural Virginia, and started from there. Got into regional dinner theater, which was a really humbling experience because you're actually on stage and then you're serving tables in between the acts and after the show. So a really great humbling experience, which really taught me that there was going to be a lot of work to continue on this dream, and that kind of perpetuated me to the next phase of my career and my life, which was moving back to New York City. And I do say back to New York City because my two parents are originally from New York City, so got to live with my grandmother. Got my equity card, did a national theater, tour, and just was around my people. Like I said, got my, opportunity to go into the equity buildings and singing my 16 bars for Phantom of the Opera or Les Mis or whatever touring show was going on, and just really took a lot of the city in. Brought in some, wonderful teachers into my journey, both at Marymount Manhattan College where I studied, Kevin Connell, just a lover of actors, and Terry Schreiber out of college in Chelsea. T. Schreiber Studios, very well known for getting Edward Norton his start, and just some really, really wonderful, teachers that I studied with at that studio for about 2.5 years. And basically from there, I was able to, just kind of take a couple, months to try out LA. Actually, because of a really important conversation I had with Terry Schreiber, where he said, maybe you should give TV and film a shot. And so I actually went out for 3 months and gave it a shot, and never looked back. And here I am now, continuing this dream with this really wonderful film that we're going to talk about today.
Cool. That is amazing. You are essentially dyed in the wool. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I can always respect someone who's died in the will and appreciates the craft. Don't get me wrong, there will always be somebody who just showed up at the 11th hour and they fly to higher heights than anyone else can, nepo baby or not. But it's always nice to see someone start from the bottom. Um, all right. So with that being said, since you brought up your movie, what's the synopsis for your movie, in your own words?
Yeah, it's a story of the times. I think it's a really important talk piece for where we are, especially in our country in America. For two different worlds to try to find common ground. I play a West Coast director. His name's Fabian Verdugo, and he is fighting for his dream. And he's got a film that is essentially on life support. First, kind of at his the insurance requirements for some of the actors. One specifically, Spencer, is a major hurdle for him, and he's looking for that last place to shoot the pivotal scenes in his film. Kat, played by my incredibly talented friend Michelle Hurd, plays my producer, and that's a tight knit, real life relationship that you find all the time between director and producer. Just that person that you can lean on. And she tells me that she has found this perfect ranch to film, this scene, and multiple scenes within the movie that are pivotal to the film within the film. Because again, the film within the film, somewhere in Montana, is Montana, a Woman, a Journey. That's Fabian Verdugo's film. And that brings us to John Alexander's Ranch, played by the incredible friend of mine, Graham McTavish. And, he's a Montana rancher, and he has his own legacy, which is, like I say, a more simple legacy, but a beautiful one. And so the two of them really are two different people, two different energies, would not find each other in the same room, but they are thrust upon each other in a situation that they need each other because John Alexander's ranch is also running on life support, unbeknownst to Fabian. And so he needs money from the film production, and I need his ranch. And so essentially, we butt heads. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. He doesn't understand my legacy, and frankly, I don't understand his. And we essentially have to work through that. There is a 10-page scene in the film that is just incredibly written because the writer and the director are the same person in this film, Brandon Smith. He wrote this real masterpiece of a scene that is really the conversation that I think a lot of us need to have and gives us that path forward in coming together as a country. And I feel like for me, this is why I got into acting was for moments like this. And Graham and I really had this conversation of just making it a conversation between two guys like we're having right now and making it authentic and organic and not falling into any of the quote unquote actors traps of making it too precious or over the top. And it just really allows two people that still agree to disagree on many things the ability to find common ground. Because I always say this, I think respect is the highest form of love that you can give somebody. And I think this film does a wonderful job of showcasing that. So, story of the time, somewhere in Montana, out in theaters now, and just a really wonderful story to I think for both sides to see, to hopefully open up their minds, make them a little bit more introspective, and like I said, give us a path forward. That way, we can hopefully come together in the near future.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just start off. I'm gonna tell you like I tell everyone who's telling me a story. I appreciate you giving me details without giving me the spoilers. Um, yeah. So that actually sounds interesting. Uh, I'm a little bit of a old heart when it comes to movies. If it ends up in a theater at some point, I'll try to see it. But if it's past that time, just let me know where they sell it, and I'll try to give it a look through. All right. Now,
For sure, and it will go to VOD and streaming eventually. But Brandon Smith really wanted this to be a theater piece first and foremost because he really wanted people to come together. I always say those 2-minute conversations for a film like this are really important because they bring people together, and so it's a limited release in theaters. I will share all that information on my social media as it comes. You want to give me a follow at Matt Drago, Mattdrago. I post all the theaters that it's in currently. And from there, you've got my link tree, my website for my acting, mattdrago.com, my production company, which we could talk a little bit more about, dragonhunterproductions.com, and then my IMDb and all my other links are up there as well if you want to give me a follow there and follow along my journey.
well, I mean, you might get a job application from me. Well, I definitely appreciate that. No, that wasn't a joke. I definitely appreciate that. I will make sure any social media links you give me, post this interview or post release of the film, and I will make sure I promote it on my socials as well. Independents need as much help as ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Amen. Amen.
All right, so that brings me into my next topic. I'm very curious. You can make it as long or as short as you want to. I don't have a time restriction. I don't know about you, for at least for today. But what was the moment in your life that made you realize, oh shit, this is what I want to do. This is what I want my life to be.
It's a great question, Zach. I mean, honestly, I can't remember a time in my life where I didn't have the acting bug, at least before I even knew what it was. Growing up in rural Virginia, I was, very humble beginnings. And again, it really came down to just really loving to be within my own mind, my own creative space. I didn't need a lot of toys to just be, creative and use my imagination to fuel me. And when I, realized what was around me in terms of art was, theater. And 4 years old, got on the stage for the first time, and I just really did. I felt like it was something that I had inside me, but it wasn't until I, started working professionally in dinner theater, and started to find that humility that it was one night that I actually remember to this day. And it was a very what you would consider maybe a small moment to some, but it made a big impact on me, was I played Little Patrick in Maine at the Riverside Dinner Theater in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And as I was coming off the stage at the end of the show, and getting ready to clean up my section and just finish up my shift, was a woman that came up to me and she said, Matt, I just really wanted to thank you for what you did tonight on stage. You really made an impact on me, and you taught me that I really need to be closer to my son. And it was just one of those things as a 14, 15-year-old that really resonated with me because I felt in that moment that it was something that I could do that would truly make an impact, to people. And it made a lot of sense for me at that point where I was like, okay, this is not just something that I'm doing for myself and my own career and my own practice, but it really is something that you are giving back to people at the same time and maybe making them be introspective and maybe connecting them with their feelings and their thoughts a little bit more. And I think that's what good art does. So I really did. I took it upon myself to just do what I needed to like I said, further my education, further my process, which is a big thing for actors in terms of figuring out what it is that makes you click as an artist and what you need to do to set yourself up for success. And I really just never looked back. I started adding to my quote unquote, bag of tricks, my portfolio. I started in theater, but started to get really interested in TV and film, and that's what brought me back to T. Schreiber Studios was a TV and film class taught by Peter and Diane Miner. And Peter was the director of One Life to Live for many years. And he really just kind of gave me the platform to really focus on the technical aspects that exist in film because film in and of itself is also a real, I mean, art form in terms of just really doing all of the preparation in pre-production and then really being ready to hit your mark and deliver your performance with a lot of technical aspects around you to really just kind of hone in on your creativity to do all the work beforehand, but then to throw it all away and be in the moment. And I was just so grateful with Somewhere in Montana that I was just around so many insanely talented and prepared actors that knew very early on that we were telling a story that was bigger than ourselves. And so, for that, it just blossomed in my life of, this is something that I feel like is what I can do in my life while I'm here on this planet to deliver the greatest impact. And I continue to do this to this day in any way that I can. And further on, I've realized recently with building my production company with my wife, who is a writer, is that I love acting, but I also love collaborating. I love the team sport of casts and crews coming together. I mean, crews are I always say this, what makes film great, because there's so much sacrifice in an indie film specifically, since you have a real depth of knowledge in that field as well. They are they make such tremendous sacrifices to make these films happen. So I think my next step really is to continue to not only be an actor but a collaborator and really shine a light on telling stories that are impactful while I'm here in this life.
I honestly hope you go far in this industry, indie or commercial.
Thank you, my friend. I
I
appreciate that.
love that question, no matter what type of person I'm interviewing, because the answer is always unique to that person. But let's just say there's usually some similarities when it comes to actors. But nah, that one was different. I like that one. All right. Well, uh, for this movie in particular, in your own words or from what you can remember, can you tell me the process that led from going from the ideas on paper to full production?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very unique situation for me, even getting the opportunity to put myself on tape for this one, Zach. It's actually, it kind of goes back to just how I've always seen the industry. Very cyclical. I like to give what I have to people, and hopefully it'll come back to me in some way, in some form. I had a friend, and It was a friend that was an actress, and she originally was from Montana. Her and her husband Kyle, her name's Suzu, and we worked at a steak restaurant locally in Santa Clarita called Larson Steakhouse. And she had actually, needed an agent, and I, said, "Oh, well, let me try to hook you up with my agent." And agent signed her and got her out, and a few years passed, and she realized that her and her husband really wanted to move back to Montana, so they did with the family. And a couple of years passed, and we didn't lose touch, but we're still Facebook friends. But she's in Montana. I don't see her at work anymore. And she called me up out of the blue one day, and she said, "Hey Matt, my friend Brandon Smith wrote this script, and every time I read one of the lead characters, I see your face." And it was just again, a really humbling moment in my life where it was a friend that was just really looking out for me and saw something that I should put myself on tape for. So she gave me the information to do that. She gave me the local casting director, my friend Jared Brocksterman's information, and I went down to Sherman Oaks and studied with my actor, my acting teacher, and a couple friends, and just really worked the scene. And I remember putting myself on scene on tape for this film. And I'd worked the scene a bunch. I had actually read the script 3 times beforehand because I had just fallen in love with this with the project even before I knew I was going to be a part of it. And I just remember after my first take of the scene, because now we're in an age where you could, do a scene 20, 30, 40 times if you wanted to and pick your best take. My acting teacher just kind of looked at me afterwards and he said, "I wouldn't change a thing. Like, you have a very clear take on this character and what you want to do with it. And could a director tweak you here and there? Absolutely. But you have a really, really like clear understanding of what you want to bring to this role as Matt." And I wouldn't tell you to take a second take, so I didn't. I just relied on the instincts of him and the instincts that I had the first time I did a scene for the film, and I sent it in. And then, like I always tell actors, you kind of have to let it go at that point. Well, a few weeks went by, and I got a call, and they wanted to set up a producer session with me. Eden Bryant, who's the producer, Jared Broxterman, the local casting director, and Brandon Smith, the writer director, were all going to be on the call, and so we got on a Zoom call. I remember that Zoom call being probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And I think we did the scene maybe once, twice. I don't think it definitely was not more than twice. It might have only been once. But I found in the call, like, I was just so curious about the project, about the story, and I asked a lot of questions, and I was really just in on just the story at large. It was just such a big story, such an important story, and honestly, what I've always aspired to do as an actor. So I just felt myself really passionate about the project. And so we went through the different the different elements of the story, and it was just a really wonderful call. And then we hung up, and I had to let it go again, right? And about a month went by. And Brandon got in touch, or Jared actually got in touch with me, the casting director, and he eloquently told me that I had been granted the role, and what a gift it was in that moment. I just was completely elated. But I got to be honest, Ax, the second that I hung up the phone, my first thought was, okay, Matt, it's time to get to work. Because that's when the real work begins. That's when you have to really earn it. And so that was at the point where I felt like it was my job to go out and earn it. Even though I had gotten the role, I had to earn it. And so from there, I spent a year. The film actually got pushed back another year, so close to 2 years, really just working through scene by scene. I reflect on these times all the time because a very unique experience. I got to be on calls just like I am right now with you, Zach, going scene by scene with Brandon. And it was an extraordinary experience that you don't really get that often as an actor, where we were really building the character together. We were having deep conversations because, again, this is a character that he wrote on paper. He had a clear idea of the understanding of Fabian, and I wanted to make sure that I was bringing myself to it, but also, doing my job and serving his script at the same time. So we would just, be on these Zoom calls, and we'd reminisce, and I felt like I was learning a lot about him. And there are just times that I reflect on so fondly when it was, before production started. And so we did that for a matter of months. And, I was working behind the scenes with my acting teacher too. That way, when I came to set and I actually drove to set, that was a big thing for me. Was to just feel the journey of Fabian, because again, he's a city guy. His tempo is very high, and he lives in a sophisticated society, and he's the outsider. He's coming into a Montana world, so it's a big arc of a character. But in doing that and showing up early, I got to shadow Brandon on set. I got to learn how he runs a set, which was very vital to my performance. And it also gave me the opportunity to just be around the people, AJ Young, the cinematographer, and the crew who had started showing up, and some of the actors that were showing up, and really just, start to connect with them on a real level. And I say that a big part of this film and this film's success is because of the relationships that were made off screen, my relationships with Graham, talking through these scenes and really becoming friends. He's the first person that's ever called me mate. Um, my friend Michelle, I just really honestly don't have enough beautiful things to say about her. She is just such a wholesome soul and such a lover of actors, and I consider her a big sister in my life. And we would connect on such a deep level that it really did. It transcended through our story off screen to the story that we have on screen. So all of these elements really were created because of this ecosystem that existed with Brandon, and how he channeled it down to the production, and how he made everybody such a tight knit group that we would go out on hikes together, we would go boating together, we would go to dinners and breakfast together. And I think it really, just speaking to your original question about the process, it just made it such an extraordinary experience, one that is abnormal in this industry, because a lot of times you'll be a day player, you'll be on set for maybe a day or two, and you'll get to have a couple conversations with the actors and the director, but you're in and you're out. And this was completely the opposite of that. So just a really special experience, and one that I'll hold dear for the rest of my life.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, my friend.
And then completely switching emotional tones and settings. Got any funny moments on set you'd like to share with the class? You don't have to give names if you don't want to.
I'll give this one, and I'll give a name too, because it's Graham and I, and honestly, um, it's a testament to his tremendous skill as an actor. Like me as Matt, he went up to Montana, and he spent a week even before we started production, and really just hung out with Montana ranchers, and understood the tone. Montana ranchers are very inward. Their conversations are short, and it's very, what he does with John Alexander is extraordinary, because it's so subtle and poignant what he does with his eyes and his tone in the character. And I just honestly don't have enough great things to say about him as an actor, and really as a person, now that he's my friend as well. He actually just checked in on me with the fires that are going on in LA. And it's just that side of camaraderie that makes him such a special part of my life. But funny story, to your question, is that the first time that we came to set, and the first scene that we had together, I actually had not heard his Montana rancher accent, because Graham has this just wonderfully rich Scottish accent, and he's hilarious. And we'd be cracking jokes and just connecting on a Matt and Graham level. But it wasn't until the first time that I showed up, and he just pulls out this extraordinary, authentic Montana rancher, and his whole tone and his whole demeanor changed like instantly. And I just had to like step back and honestly like yell cut, because like I just like was so taken by the work that he did. It was almost a moment where I felt like I needed to honor how awesome it was, A, to be acting alongside with him, but B, just the tremendous work ethic that he put into John Alexander. And it just really from the get-go, I
Hey
just knew
Google,
it was going to be such a
who
powerful
plays
thing to tell a story
Littlefinger
with him. It was going to be
in
such an
Game of Thrones?
honor to tell a story with him, but it really in that
Peter
moment
Baelish was
was
played by Aidan Google.
it was funny, but it took me so off guard that I kind of needed to process how insanely great he was at just absolutely flipping the switch, becoming this Montana subtle, direct, character, and it just really led to just this overwhelming feeling in the depth of my soul of like what an incredible thing this was going to be to tell us a great story with him.
If there's one thing I miss from being in the editing trailers, I don't know if they still do that these days or they call them editing chambers now. It was catching those moments. There's nothing you can do with them. They're not gonna go on a Blu-ray or DVD, but just catching those moments and just going back and looking at them, I miss that. That's the one thing I miss about being in the editing dungeon that goes behind the scenes once the shooting is done. Oh
Sure,
man.
no, I would love to follow up on that too because I do. We kind of spoke about it earlier, but it's like all that off-screen stuff, and I mean, I would tell you, hand to God, because not many casts and crews are as tight knit, and our cast and crew was interchangeable on this one. But when I see the final product of this film, I really do. I reflect on all of those moments, like you would see in the editing chamber. Which is kind of a scary way to put that, by the way. Editing chamber, it kind of makes it feel like a dungeon or
Yeah,
something.
that was his nickname, the dungeon, because the one I was in the most, it was down a hallway. The hallway wasn't dark, but it is full of machines always going on because someone's always editing. So it'll have a completely different temperature. The further down the hall you go, it'll go from a regular or cold to just really warm. Then you go around the corner to the right or to the left, and then boom, there's all of us. But on the left, there's the dock area, and that's where the mobile version of the editing dungeon would be, which is essentially just a trailer, but everything's on rails. There's maybe 2 or 3 chairs in there, and that's where all the footage get archived. You're not really going to edit in there unless you want to die from heat exhaustion, and then you bring it back. But the thing is that there will always be something that no one saw, no one caught, or some line that just got screwed up in such a way that it's funny that there's nothing you can do with it. But now with the invention of the internet, I guess some of that is coming out, but no, you have to know and meet legitimate video editors and camera operators to get the best stories. Oh man, the things I wish I could tell you about Bruce Willis, but we are being recorded. Oh my God. Put it this way, it's almost all true. It's almost all true.
Hmm.
Um, oh, and there's this one I'm still trying to find it because we're not sure if it was a stunt actor or just somebody screwing around, but a particular Marvel character who's known for his sharpness, somebody decided to play with his sharp tools that protrude from his body, tried to dig out a booger and almost took his eye out. Oh, that was so hilarious. I'm keeping that one in. I'm not editing that one out. I'm not using names, so I'm not gonna catch no hell. All right, but moving on. Just in your head, what director or actor would you say you have drawn the most inspiration from throughout your career? Not for this film, but your whole career. Like, who inspired you the most, in your opinion?
Well, he was a neighbor of mine in New York City, so I'd see him at the local diner, and being a young Italian actor, Pacino for me is somebody that I've always just uh, been immersed of just his genuine depth of character and just what he's able to do on a dime. And I really honestly, when I say Pacino, I also say De Niro. I mean, the two of them are just such dynamic forces in our industry, have had those just really long, rich careers, and you see why. Because again, their ability to just understand on a just cosmic level the depth to every moment in a story is inspiring for young actors, and I hope they know that. I mean, for people like me growing up, watching just the greatness. I mean, you take in those little moments if you want to do acting. Like if you want to be an actor, you watch those same scenes over and over again. look at how those, behavioral elements influence the story. You maybe look up articles about how they build characters. You then go to the directors like, Marty Scorsese. I mean, come on. I mean, like I look at like his body of work and I look at his interviews in that, he is a lover of actors and he's even said sometimes it's just about getting the right man for the job. And I think that's almost like his way of being humble too, because I don't mean it the wrong way. He's one of the greatest directors of all time, and it's not even close. And so when I think about what a gift it has been to have those three Italian guys, and I'll add Sylvester Stallone to the mix because I'm a huge Rocky fan, by the way. Rocky 4 has a pretty good character name. What's his name? That Russian guy.
Drag
um,
off.
I get that all the time,
Yeah,
right?
Ivan Dragonov or
So,
something like that.
yeah. So I really do. I really do embrace those times growing up in my life and really just watching those films over and over and over, like almost like a great song on repeat, and just really immersing myself in like, what can I learn? What can I do to watch these greats be great so that I can maybe someday be great. And I felt like that was something that I took to heart really early on was just being a student of the game and just being able to, first of all, see Al come across the street, because I literally did lived in the building right across from him on 79th and Broadway, and we ate at the same diner, and it was that one moment where I was in college and I just, he was quietly at the same spot that he always ate at the New Wave Diner. And I went up to him and I just said, um, have a great day, Al. That's literally all I said. And he looked at me with those intense eyes. And I think he probably gleaned from that moment that maybe I was an actor. I clearly was an Italian kid, that had a lot of the same features as him. But the way that he looked at me, it was like a moment of connection where he said, "You too, kid." And it just really meant a lot to me. Like it was like that moment of connection. I mean, hand to God, if I was ever on set with him, I would be a kid all over again because again, he is one of the driving forces of why I wanted to be an actor like De Niro, like Stallone. But even with that, you think about this really intimate relationship that you have with directors and the relationship between actor and director. I mean, it can be very just otherworldly special. And I mean, I speak to my relationship with Brandon. I mean, it's so close because again, it's about being on the same page. I always say this, but it is about serving the director, especially if they're a writer, right? You're serving their story and you want to make sure that you're doing your job and you're doing it well. And I feel like, watching all these films growing up, whether it be, The Godfathers or what have you, it really gave me the inspiration that I needed to say, I want to do this. It might be hard, but I can learn. I can keep learning. I can keep growing, and I just can keep enjoying the journey. Then hopefully there will be success for me in the future. And just yeah, I mean those behemoths of actors for me were the inspiration that I needed as a kid to keep the dream going and to continue to keep it going in my life as it stands now.
Cool. I'm I'm definitely gonna enjoy editing this episode. Um. Okay. Well, I guess that brings us to our last question before, you know, unedited funny stuff pursues. Um. Conceptually speaking, you know, unlimited budget. Every Hollywood and producer is beating down your door like your name is James Gunn, and you have an infinite Disney-sized budget. What would your dream movie look like? Who would be directing it? Et cetera, et cetera. Conceptually speaking, what's your dream movie? Who would be in it? Just go ahead and be a kid in a candy store, man.
Hmm. That is a phenomenal question, Zach. Um, I don't know if I have the specifics yet, but I can paint a picture. The picture would have my incredible wife, who is my collaborator, and I got to be honest, collaborating with someone you love, there's nothing better than that. So it would be her story, because like she's believed in me as an actor, I believe in her as a writer, and I want her stories to be told, and I love her stories. They are, just really, really powerful stories, and she's on her sixth script now. She's a film independent fellow this year. She's going to make her first short film. Just massively proud of her because, again, we've been through all the downs together. So every time that there is a success in our life, it's special. And so first and foremost, it would be her story because her stories are my story. Secondly, directing. That's a tough one, because there are so many directors, that I've, followed obviously as an actor that I just love. But if Laura wanted to direct her own film, I would want that for her because I think that there is this incredible ability to, when you are the director and the writer of your own project, really collaborate those two worlds and connect them together in a unique way because it all started with the words on the page, and then you can articulate that when you are finally in production for that film. So if she wanted to direct it, I would want her to. But as the writer of the project, if she wanted to call the shot on someone that she wanted to co-direct or a powerhouse director, I would let her make that shot because I feel like my lane in our production company is more producer driven, is more, getting the team together, is more getting the investors to fund the dream, fund the project. And if I have unlimited money, then yes, I mean I would try to pull from the pool of actors that I just spoke of if I could. I would have the budget of doing what I wanted, the shots that I wanted, the grandness of what I wanted, the composition that I wanted. I mean, all the way up to Hans Zimmer or John Williams, if I could, because I was that crazy kid in college that literally would lift weights listening to their music. I mean, I love movie scores. I actually, I follow the people that wrote Somewhere in Montana, the Livesey's, Jason and Nolan. And my God, what music can do to a film is just extraordinary. So yes, I would go big on the music. I would go big on the editing. I would find, the best of the best because a lot of film is in post production, and you know that. So I mean, I'm talking to somebody
Better than
that is
most
great
people
at.
will ever
Yeah,
understand.
oh, 100%. I mean, it's so cool to have this conversation with you, Zax, because it's like you understand that the movie that you cut sometimes is really the most transformative process of the three. When we're talking about pre-production, production, and post-production, post-production is probably the biggest of the three in that it really is when you shave off the elements or build up the elements of what that final film is really going to look like and live on through the annals of time and how it's really going to be. So I think about all those things, but then I also think about where and where the film is composed for me is something that I learned from Somewhere in Montana because it was the feedback that I got the day that we premiered it in Polson, Montana. People would come up to me and they would say, a lot of the same thing. Matt, it was so powerful to see a movie made about our little corner of the world. It was really powerful to see our voices heard and shine a spotlight on our, little town and our little community. So regardless of the big budgets, right? Because you can have you know, um, the budget of your dreams to go right to the heart of Times Square or shoot a LA and get all these great drone shots or all these big budget things. For me it's not about that. It's more so about bringing film to places that feel like they don't have a voice, and that's something that I learned from this film, and it's something that I learned frankly from this character in Fabian Verdugo and what he did and what he learned, and it became a part of what I learned as Matt. And so I think to answering your question, I think it would really not have to be the biggest budget. I mean, sure, like in post production, I probably could swing for the fences and throw a lot of money out there to get my composer, my editor. If I could, great some big name actors, absolutely, because I would love to work with some of these people that I've just admired for so long. But I think for the most part, it's about what the core of the story does. And first and foremost, I would let my wife and my production company lead the way on that. To tell stories that matter, because I think that's where I'm at right now in my life. I feel like I'm in the sweet spot of my career, is that I'm nostalgic and I really love making people feel like it's their film, not just mine. And so bringing stories to, like I said, my little corner of the world, which is a passion project that we're doing, a Christmas film, hopefully in the next couple years in Front Royal, Virginia, where we are both from originally, is a powerful just thought for me to really fight for, and something that I want to do in my production company for as long as I can while I'm here.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of my favorite episodes. Um, well, I'm not gonna lie. We've tried to negotiate deals with getting everyone from, broadcast hosts to MMA commentators to authors themselves, or comic book designers on this show, and I've enjoyed talking to all of them. But there's always something different when you get to interview someone in that sweet spot of you understand their job to an extent that only you can, and vice versa. Those are the people, like, they are hard to find. And I know they're hard to find because I didn't technically find you, you found me. So
Mm.
I always enjoy when I can do stuff like this, because I could ask almost every single question identically to 100 people like you, and as long and I can promise you at least half of them will give me an exotic answer, which is why interviews never get old for me, because there's a difference between a promotional interview. Hi, we're here with such and such because they're in this movie right here that they are not going to spoil, and they're going to say something generic about, versus this. This is actor talk, this is producer talk, this is director talk.
Mhm.
I like that so much better. I can't remember his name, but it was the host of Inside the Actor's Mind. And he, on the outside, his entire show always looked so boring. But
James
he would,
Lipton?
yes, but he would have actors giving their actual soul on how they or why they did something in a scene, talking about the script in ways that we couldn't possibly know as the spectators. And I think that's what kind of led me down the path of seeking entertaining people for, well, just interviewing, let alone podcasting. It's because if you really stop and think about it, almost no professional entertainer is entertained on the why and how they do their craft. They're interviewed on the what are they working on right now, what's coming out in a couple weeks, couple months. It's completely different, as different as night and day. It's like one thing to listen to your favorite musician perform, but it's a whole nother to ask them what was the process behind making this song. Different as night and day, and I love it.
100%. And I mean, again, I mean, I thank you for your platform today. And yes, there are promotional elements to any part of getting yourself out there. But I like to add the depth, because at the end of the day, the journey is the destination. And I say that all the time to people, is that you really have to enjoy where you are. And where I am right now is with Zach's, having a great conversation about, a part in my life that I am just reveling in. And most of that is to do with the relationships that I've gleaned from this film, and where I'm at right now, just in feeling complete. And yes, there still will be ups and downs. I know that. I know that, this is a long form thing that I've always wanted to do with my life since I was a kid, and we reflected on that. And it's just it goes to show you that you have to be where you are. And I'm really just honing in on that right now and just enjoying this great film. It's what I've always wanted to do in my life. It's impactful for me as an artist. But if I'm being perfectly honest with you, Zach, I feel like I've already won with this film. I feel like I don't even have to promote it so much because I think it's important. And yes, I want people to see it because I think it's a great conversation starter. I think it's a story of the times. I think there's a lot that can be gleaned from a powerful story like this. But if I'm being honest, for me, I feel complete because these are the stories that I've always wanted to tell since I was a kid in the backyard, just in my own head and just with my own imagination.
That is a beautiful sentiment to close out on, because if there wasn't for those little kids getting inspired, being creative, having that imagination, having that background support, whether it's emotional, moral, or financial, you know, we wouldn't have what we have today. And a lot of people can complain about what we have today as far as entertainment is concerned, but 90% of those people just stick their head in the ground and don't pop it up until they get a commercial in their face, so they can't really talk, but they always do.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I definitely appreciate you coming through, and hey, look, I'll tell you like I tell everybody, if I can help promote someone who genuinely loves their craft and what they're doing, even if it's one person looking at them, I'm happy with what I did. Not everybody's gonna magically wake up one day and get that call from A24 telling them, "Hey, we want to distribute or help produce whatever you got planned." I get it, but when you see someone put effort into something that they love, I feel like that should inspire or help inspire people. Just get them to realize, yes, the journey may be long. Yes, the journey may be tough. Some people are going to get fast tracked and some people are going to get thrown off the track. But the resilience of humanity is one of the strongest things you can have in the creative field, because you could be the best at your field, and if one person decides to say no, this stuff you're doing is trash, it could completely derail how you even view yourself. So when I see somebody starting from as short of a background as yours and doing what they do now, I am nothing but happy to be a part of their journey, even if it's just for a brief second.
Powerfully said, my friend. And again, I mean, this has been a conversation that's meant a lot to me too. So I really do. I appreciate you having me on your show. I appreciate this conversation because even this conversation in and of itself is part of my journey. And so I really do. You asked some really great questions. It's always really nice to talk to a fellow artist that gets it like you do, Zach. So thank you again for having me on your show and for this amazing conversation today. It's meant a lot to me.
Okay, and with that being said, one last time, Mr. Drago, can you tell these fine people where they can find you?
Absolutely. Social media wise, I like to keep it streamlined. I'm mostly on Instagram at Matt Drago, MattDrago. From there, you've got my link tree. It's got my websites, both for my acting, mattdrago.com and dragonhunterproductions.com. It's also got my IMDb. You can look at my past, my future projects. And again, like I have on this interview today, I share personal stuff because that's part of my journey along with the professional things that are going on in my craft and my career. So give me a follow there and be a part of my journey at Matt Drago on Instagram.
Okay, and with that being said, that brings this episode to a close, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.